So now I'll discuss 7 of the most common critiques. Number 1 is some version of this. Why should we follow the paleo diet? I mean, those people all died when they were 30 years old, right? So you've heard something like this before. So it is true that the average lifespan of our ancestors was short, and shorter than our average lifespan today. But that doesn't take into account important considerations, challenges that they faced that most of us living in the industrialized world don't face today. So they had very high rates of infant mortality, 30 times higher rates, in fact, of infant mortality than we have today, 100 times higher rates of early childhood mortality. They had absolutely no emergency medical care. They were subject to exposure to the elements, so they could very easily die from freezing if it got really cold out and they couldn't find shelter. They had extremely high rates of trauma and injury due to violence and warfare. It may seem sometimes like we live in a violent society, but it's an absolute utopia compared to what a hunter-gatherer society is like in terms of violence. So these are the challenges that reduced average lifespan. It wasn't about their diet and lifestyle. So if you take a hypothetical group of 10 people living in the Paleolithic era, let's say 2 of them died at childbirth, another 3 died during early childhood, maybe another 2 died from tribal warfare and violence in adolescence, and the remaining 3 live long, healthy, vibrant lives and die peacefully in their sleep, which is all we can really ask for. The average lifespan of that group is going to be very short, right? Because most of the people are dying young and in childhood. But the average lifespan does not tell the full story, and that's why it's not a good metric in terms of gauging the health of a particular population. So today, our life expectancy in the US is 78 years. And this increase in life expectancy has not happened because of changes in diet and lifestyle. It's actually happened in spite of those changes, because of things like antibiotics, sanitation, modern hygiene, emergency medical care, less violence, and increased social stability. So an interesting question might be, how long would contemporary hunter-gatherers who maintain their traditional diet and lifestyle live if they had access to these advances in modern medicine and hygiene? And in fact, researchers have asked this question and answered it. It turns out that contemporary hunter-gatherers with even the most rudimentary access to modern medical care, which means in some cases they have to walk for a half a day, to get to the most basic medical clinic where they can have, an infected wound taken care of or deal with any other kind of trauma or injury from violence. These people live an average of 68 to 78 years, which is not very different than our life expectancy, as I just said. And more importantly, when they reach age 45, which means they've escaped the most risky periods of infancy and early childhood, they can expect to live another 25 to 27 years after that, so into their 70s. Again, very much like life expectancy in the US. But here's the really good news. We don't have to choose. We don't have to choose between a hunter-gatherer lifestyle and life expectancy and the standard American diet and lifestyle and life expectancy. We can take the best of both. So we can use the traditional diet and lifestyle of hunter-gatherers, which, by the way, enabled them to reach these ages that are similar to our age, the ages that we reach, without any of the chronic inflammatory diseases that plague us today. No diabetes, no obesity, no heart disease, not even any allergies or asthma, no autoimmune disease, which now affects 50 million people, almost 1 in 6 Americans. So they lived to these ages without getting any of those diseases, whereas now in the US, many of us are acquiring these diseases even during childhood. And we may live a couple, 2, 3 years longer in some cases, but what's the quality of our life during those years compared to the quality of their life? So we can take the best, learn from the best of their diet and lifestyle practices, which kept them free of those chronic inflammatory diseases and also remarkably lean and fit. And then we can take the best of what modern medicine has to offer, emergency medical care, trauma care, and even drugs in certain cases when they're appropriate, and combine them to live even longer lifestyle than what the typical standard American life expectancy is.